Where should you start studying the Bible if you want to go deep and discover what a masterpiece this book really is? Let's take a look. Hey everyone, welcome to another Masterpiece episode. My name is Chris and I want to help you take your Bible study experience to the next level and discover just how beautiful and fascinating this book really is. If you're new here, thanks so much for stopping by, and of course, make sure you hit that subscribe button and activate the bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting episodes. So you've decided to start studying the Bible in a deeper way? Great. But maybe you're asking yourself, where should I start? At the beginning? With a certain book? In the Old or in the New Testament? In other words, is there something like an ideal place to start digging deeper into this book? I already talked about this topic a little bit in a previous video, which you can check out right up here, but I want to go back and elaborate a little bit more on this. So is there an ideal place to start going deeper into the Bible? I believe the answer to that question is both yes and no. And the reason I say no is because every person is different and at a different stage in life and in their walk with God. So that verse or passage or book that really speaks to one person may not have the same appeal to someone else. And that's perfectly okay, because the great thing about the Bible is that it's possible to go deep and make exciting discoveries everywhere in this book. Once you know something about how the Bible works and what to look for in the text, you can begin to see what an amazing masterpiece this book is no matter where you start to study it, especially if you use an accurate translation that stays as close as possible to the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek text. Having said that, I do want to suggest two possible starting points that I believe are, at least generally speaking, more ideal than others, especially if you're just starting to study the Bible in a deeper way. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I also have a bonus tip you don't want to miss. So here we go. Starting point number one, a gospel. This is, of course, a classic starting point that has been recommended by many people, and for good reasons. Some of the great advantages of starting with the gospel are that, number one, the gospels contain mostly narratives, which in general are easier to work with than other kinds of biblical texts like prophetic or wisdom literature. Number two, the gospels contain mostly shorter narratives, especially the first three gospels, which means you don't have to deal with a lot of verses and can study through a complete passage in a reasonable amount of time. And number three, they bring you directly into contact with the most important person in the entire Bible, Jesus Christ. So especially if you're just starting to study the Bible in a deeper way, starting with short narratives about Jesus might actually be the best way to go. And if you start at the beginning of a gospel and then move through it passage by passage, you have the additional benefit of seeing how the book is set up, how it develops, and what the central themes are. And once you see that, it's so much easier to discover what message the author is trying to get across and what this book has to do with your own life. So try it out. Choose a gospel and start in chapter 1, verse 1. Starting point number two, the beginning. There is one major downside to starting in the Gospels, and that is that you miss the entire backstory in the Old Testament. Remember, even though the Bible is made up of 66 books, it really tells one big unified story that climaxes in the life and death of Jesus as recorded in the Gospels. Which means the Gospels, as well as the rest of the New Testament, build on the foundation of the Old Testament and cannot be fully understood without it. If you're not super familiar with the Old Testament, you will, for example, miss out on quite a number of important allusions in New Testament passages that help you to properly interpret those texts. So if you want to study the Bible in depth and understand it correctly, it's crucial that you have at least some knowledge of the Old Testament. And the best way to get that knowledge is to start studying the Old Testament from the very beginning. Even though this route might at times be more challenging than starting in the Gospels, it is very helpful if you want to get a better feel for how the Bible works. And it also helps you to see even more clearly what an amazing masterpiece this book really is. So those are my two recommendations for starting points if you want to study the Bible in a deeper way. But maybe you're having a hard time deciding because both of those starting points have pros and cons. If so, here's a little bonus tip just for you. Try a combination of both. In other words, start studying Genesis 1:1 and, for example, Matthew 1:1 at the same time. I've actually been doing this for several years now, and I really like it because I get the best of both worlds, so to speak. And I see connections between the Old and New Testament more quickly, which makes Bible study just so much more enjoyable. So maybe you want to try one of these starting points, or maybe you want to start at a completely different point. Whatever you decide on, remember, the most important thing is not where you start studying the Bible, but that you start at all, and that you do so regularly and carefully. Don't just skim over text, but really invest the time to take a closer look. I promise you, you won't regret it. All right, I hope you're super motivated to start digging deeper into the Bible. Seriously, if you haven't done so already, you've got to try it out. In case you're wondering how to go about it and what to look out for, check out my video on 7 helpful tools for deeper Bible study right up here. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would be super grateful if you would give it a thumbs up, pass it on to anyone you think might benefit from it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.